enough from me. You probably want to hear from my boss, Ezra Levant, the founder and CEO at Rebel News, and I think really a visionary that he doesn't get credit for. I was thinking last night about just how diverse our company is. Jewish owned and operated, head of journalism is a woman. I hear that the crybabies on Twitter care about women in journalism, except when it's people like me. Our head of video is a man of color. We have a pretty diverse newsroom. We don't care about that sort of thing because we just hire people who are best for the job. And sometimes the people who are best for the job are not actually journalists at all when we hire them, like me. I have no training in journalism, so that I suppose puts me in the same league as Peter Mansbridge. Yeah, sure. We hire people with tenacity, a desire to work hard, hold the government to account, and who are intellectually curious and care about dinner table issues. And that has really been the success of our company. And that only happens because somebody took a chance on somebody like me. And that person was Ezra Levant, plucked me from obscurity, and now I'm standing at a microphone talking to all of you people so many years later because Ezra saw something in me and in all of us that we probably didn't see in ourselves. I think it takes a special kind of person to see deep within people that way. And so, while it sounds like I'm angling for a raise, and maybe I am, let me welcome up to the stage my boss, the founder and CEO of Rebel News, Ezra Levant.
Stand over here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you for those kind words. I am thrilled to see another packed house. It's tough to have two events, one after the other. Yesterday, we had a packed house for Rumble Live. Rumble is the free speech competitor to YouTube. And we had some very interesting guests, including Donald Trump Jr., who came up just to talk about the theme of yesterday's live stream, which was freedom of speech. And we had other amazing free speech champions on stage, like Glenn Greenwald, a man of the left who understands that freedom of speech is the gift you have to give your opponents if you want it for yourself. It's tough sometimes to believe in freedom of speech. It's easy when you're talking about your own speech, but what about that guy who just drives you crazy? Well, you've got to give it for him too. Freedom of speech is a strategic freedom upon which all other freedoms depend. It doesn't matter if you have an election if you're not allowed free speech. You can't campaign honestly. Freedom of association, freedom of assembly. We're gathered here today. It doesn't matter if you don't have free speech underneath it. It's a core belief and a reason Western civilization has progressed. Let truth and falsehood grapple. We don't know for sure the truth until we bang it out. Galileo thought he knew what was true. Others said that's a falsehood. And I say to my friends on the left who have forgotten what Glenn Greenwald remembers, that freedom of speech is the tool that equalizes power for people who have no power. Every new idea, every step of progress comes from someone disrupting the norms, disrupting the understanding. Let me put this in left-wing terms. The idea that women could vote, outrageous, against the laws of nature. I mean, you can imagine the arguments that were put 100 plus years ago. Women in society did not have the vote. They were not powerful, but they had an idea whose time had come. Think of the Black Civil Rights Movement. Think of the gay movement, the gay liberation and equality movement. In each of those cases, the arguments put forward by the progressive left were, yes, they were by definition offensive to the order of the day. And so I think that the left used to understand the importance of free speech when they were using it, but now that they have colonized the institutions, they want to shut the door behind them and not allow anyone to challenge them, anyone to disrupt them, anyone to upset them or offend them. But the miracle of Canada is that there's no human right not to be offended, but there is a right to be offended, which is actually wonderful. When you think of totalitarian regimes like North Korea or Iran, you're not allowed to be offended to the government. Being offended is okay. And if you don't want to be offended, don't go on social media, don't engage in debates, but don't stop those who want to. I believe everyone in this room wants to make a better Canada. It was a delight to see everyone sing the anthem so passionately. And one of my favorite things about the trucker convoy is how it embraced the symbols of Canada and patriotism. In my entire life, I have never seen people spontaneously burst out into the anthem as I did when I was in Ottawa in those amazing days during the convoy. It gave fresh blood. It renewed and reinvigorated our symbols of patriotism. And it's incredible to see the incumbents, to see Justin Trudeau in particular, denigrate Canada, say we're nothing more than a genocidal country. He accuses us of genocide. He accuses us of inherent racism and sexism. In fact, that's his go-to insult. You know, we're in York Centre, which is the electoral district here, and as was mentioned, the MP for this district, Yara Sachs. Let me tell you what she wrote on Twitter yesterday about our gathering. She said, Sheila quoted this, "While I am a strong supporter of the right to free speech," if anyone goes any further in that sentence, that's the truth. I support free speech, but you can ignore everything before the word but. While I am a strong supporter of the right to free speech, comma. Okay, so she's not quite. Let me be clear that the vile views espoused by Rebel News are not welcome in York Centre, nor do its residents support them. Now, that might be true, but I don't think so. And is it the place of a politician to say who is or isn't welcome in Canada and what views are not welcome in Canada? That's not for the government to say. It's not for a politician to say. And I'll tell the story at greater length later on, but I want to let you know that the government tried to cancel this event today. And I made a video about it that we're going to release later today. I'm giving the government 24 hours to respond to my questions. I don't think they will, but I'll tell you in a short form, the land on which we are gathered used to be a military base. And then it was turned into a park, Downsview Park. There's a soccer drome, there's a hockey, there's a lot of sports stuff going on here and event venues like the one we're in. Those are all private operations, but the land underneath is Crown land. It's owned by a Crown corporation called the Canada Lands Company, which is just basically the government of Canada's landlord. So we made a contract with this venue, and we always have security. Not that we've ever needed it. We've never had a protester in 9 years of doing these Rebel News Live. We never had a single protester, but just make people feel comfortable just in case. And I'm worried that some beautiful young fan will chase me around and that I'm gonna need my virtue protected. And so that's really why I have the security, because I'm worried that my fan club will just start throwing hotel keys at me or something. Now, in 9 years, that's never happened, but it could. In 9 years, I'm just being silly. We have security because, why not? You have a few hundred people together. We had a contract with this venue who were happy to have us. They believe in freedom of speech, all points of view. They know that you're not troublemakers. Maybe I am, but you're not. And everything was fine until about 2 weeks ago when suddenly the landlord, who owns the underlying land, who has no opinion about anything, suddenly threatened the venue and said, you need to spend $49,000 in extraordinary security on top of what you're doing. You need to hire dozens of security. You need to hire Toronto police. hang on, aren't they paid for with my taxes? Well, you've got to pay them to come, and you've got to spend thousands of dollars on barriers for all the protesters who are going to be there, and you actually have to buy 2 porta potties for the protesters. Total bill, $49,000. Well, there's no way this event could sustain a security bill of $49,000, and there's no way that this venue could bear that, and there's no way that we could bear that. There was no intel report that there was a security situation. There was no threat. As you can see, there's not a single protester here today. They're all busy down at the University of Toronto with their pro-Hamas encampment that apparently the police are fine with. And it's really weird because I don't think the Canadian government has demanded that the pro-Hamas encampment spend $49,000 on security. But our landlord was terrified because how do you fight not just City Hall, how do you fight the Parliament of Canada? How do you fight your own landlord who could destroy your business? I mean, they're going to make a few bucks off this gathering, but they have to be here tomorrow when we're gone and thereafter. And our landlord was terrified because what he thought was a lease, it was an unwritten clause. Thou shalt not have any guests, that the Liberal government, including the local member of Parliament, Ya'ara Sachs, who says in her tweet, "We're not welcome, thou shalt not allow freedom of association, freedom of assembly, freedom of mobility, freedom of speech for anyone that Ya'ara Sachs and Justin Trudeau don't like." And so it was a real pickle, wasn't it? Because there's no way I'm paying a $49,000 ransom to those thugs, but there's no way that the venue could bear that either. Now, in a startling development, our partners yesterday, Rumble, said we want the event to go ahead. It's an extremely important event. We need to talk about C-63, which was the theme yesterday. We're going to pay it anyways. Now, there's something inside me that does not like paying a ransom, does not like paying blackmail, does not like paying extortion, but I suppose it's not for me to tell a company how to run things, and it was an outstanding event seen by hundreds of thousands of people, and it was very important to teach Canadians and inform Americans about the civil liberties bonfire going on in this country. And so I suppose from that point of view, it was good that we proceeded, but I want you to know that the Liberal government is weaponizing every single finger on the hand of the state. And if you think that is not a China-like move, a CCP move, that is what they do in communist China. That is what they do in Iran and other tyrannies. Ya'ara Sachs's tweet was an instruction to the police. And you see all the police out there today? And I got no beef with a cop who was assigned to be here. I said to them, and if there's any cops still in here, lads, go out there and fight some crime. Go out there. Did you see that jewelry smash and grab in yesterday in Mississauga? There's some terrorist supporters at U of T, but they're coming for you. Or to be more accurate, they're coming for Rebel News. They're coming for you, but we're in the way. Let me phrase it that way. And so your being here is not just an opportunity to meet with your fellow rebels, your rebel enthusiasts, as well as your on-screen rebels. My friend Sheila Gunn-Reid and much of our team is here. David the Menzoid Menzies, he's become a real star, a hero. But put your hands together for David. Do you see the weaponized state in the case of David? He asked Chrystia Freeland a basic question, and he was arrested and assaulted, and we all saw that video. 15 million people saw that video of how smoothly the police lied. As they were assaulting him, they said, "Stop assaulting us." We all saw that video. He's been arrested 3 times in 2024. I look around this country at all the so-called freedom of speech organizations. Canadian Journalists for Free Expression, Canadian Association of Journalists, Canadian Civil Liberties Association, Amnesty International, etc., the alphabet soup of journalism organizations, and not a single one of them had a word to say about a journalist being jailed in Canada. They don't care because they're all part of the regime. Now, I'm getting a little long-winded now, and my job was to welcome you here, but I wanted to tell you that you are here in defiance of the regime. You are here in defiance of the thuggish MP who wanted to block you. You are here in defiance of the Canada Lands Company and Justin Trudeau, who gave them, they thought we couldn't make the 49 grand. And you know, it would be true if we didn't have a powerful ally. They wanted to cancel this event. And in any real healthy democracy with checks and balances, that would be cause for a cabinet minister to resign. But this is Canada, and it'll actually result in a promotion of the cabinet minister. But I tell you this, you are the real Canada, singing "O Canada" and believing in our fundamental freedoms.